Okay, at 6 o'clock, we're going to call the December 2nd Coal City Commuter Unit number 1 public hearing on the proposed property tax increase for Coal City Community Unit to order. Roll call, please, Wanda.
Robert Bianchetti. Mary Gill. Here. Sean Hamilton.
Here.
Quentin Harmon.
Here.
Chuck Lander.
Here.
Ken Miller.
Here, stand for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the Board of Education approved tentative 2020 property tax levy on Wednesday, November 4th, 2020. Notice was published in the Coal City Courant newspaper on Wednesday, November 18th, 2020. Is there anybody who wants to make a comment on the proposed property tax increase? And if so, this would be the proper time to do so.
Mr. Smith, did we receive any public comment?
No, sir.
No public comment? Thank you very much. Any other questions then? If there are none, then we will consider the public hearing and the proposed property tax increase closed. So then at 6:01, then I will call the regular December 2nd board meeting to order. Roll call, please, Luanda.
Robert Bianchetti.
Present.
Mary Gill. Here. Sean Hamilton.
Here.
Quentin Harmon.
Here.
Chuck Lander.
Here.
Ken Miller.
Here. Okay, welcome everybody who's listening at home. We're glad you're listening and being a part of this. Are there any communications from the floor in regard to agenda items or anything in general? Okay, board members, are there any items that you would like to have removed from the consent agenda? Okay, then I'll entertain a first and second motion to approve the consent agenda, including the minutes and the closed session minutes from the regular meeting of November 4th, the October activity funds report, the October treasurer's report, the November monthly manual checks report, the November payrolls, the December accounts payable, personnel items, including approval of resignations, employee transfers, leave requests, extracurricular assignments, and the administrator's HSA payments. Bob so moves and Quint seconds. Roll call, please, Luanda.
Robert Bianchetti.
Yes.
Quentin Harmon.
Yes.
Mary Gill. Yes. Sean Hamilton.
Yes.
Chuck Lander.
Yes.
Ken Miller.
Yes. Anybody have any questions about the administrator's reports, including Sandy's or Tammy's? Because they're on, we can ask them any questions if we want to. Anybody have any questions on any of those?
No, sir.
Okay, Dr. Bud?
The only thing that I have for you is we had our annual inspection report received from the ROE. We did fine on everything. You can see that information is there. Appreciate Denny Wickheiser helping us with that process. You see that on the dates to remember, we have the December 30th board study session of the whole meeting listed. Normally the board has canceled that meeting in December. I know we're going to talk a little bit later about some timeframes coming up in terms of replacing the vacant board seat. But I left that on there just not knowing where the board was going to land yet on that.
Sure. Okay. Any questions of any of that? Chuck, anything you want to add to the Grundy Area Vocational Center report? Okay. Any questions about the athletic director's report? Again, any communication from the floor in regard to agenda items or anything in general? And hearing none, let's move on to old business then. Okay, Dr. Bug, you want to talk about Dresden?
Yeah, I want to update the board on the Dresden station. As I continually tell you, we're working on two different avenues right now. One is trying to keep the plant open and doing everything we can to advocate for that. I've had two different meetings over the past 3 weeks with the Climate Jobs Illinois initiative, their leadership. As you know, that is an organization of organized labor who has gotten together and put forth 10 different tenets. One of those is keeping all the nuclear plants in the state open. They're also advocating for more carbon-free energy in the form of more wind energy and more solar. All those things are beneficial to taxing districts. So we have aligned with them. Faircom has aligned with them, the member districts of Faircom. We've also been working to secure statewide support from some organizations, and we're still working on some of those things. We know that the veto session was canceled because of COVID, so we are still very hopeful and gearing up for the next legislative session, which begins, I believe it's January 13th. And we're hopefully gearing up for that and see some positive legislation that will help support keeping the plant open. So we're going to continue to work on that. Our local legislators have been very supportive, but really what our focus right now is to try to get more support from different parts of the state. So we'll continue working on that. The other path, as you know, is we have to make sure we have a plan together if the plant closes. And as you know, the announced closure date is November of 2021. We have been actively talking about what a financial plan for the board or for the district might look like. We're trying to get feedback for the board to consider. We put together, at the direction of the board, our budget efficiency committee. Quint and Sean have been to all three of those meetings. We met again yesterday. We spent meeting one giving them all sorts of information, the lay of the land, what our finances look like. We spent meeting two brainstorming different ideas and different thoughts. And then yesterday we tried to kind of come together and figure out what's a basic direction that this group can give to the board to consider. What we didn't want them doing is saying, we have 300 employees roughly in the district, full and part-time. Let's figure out each one of those and what happens to them. That's not what this group was supposed to do. So we tried to come up with some general guidance to give us a starting point. And what we ended up coming up with after a lot of discussion was as a starting point for the board to look at where the district was in 2006. And we chose 2006 for a few reasons. Number one, remember back in 2006, the tax rate, the Dresden station was at the end of the ramp down agreement, and we were assessed at $105 million for that plant. The total EAV of the district at that time, including the Dresden station, was about $340 million. The tax rate was $4.44. A lot of people forget that, but back in 2006, our tax rate was $4.44 here. We're still not close to that. So since that time, taxes have maintained lower here, over $1 lower than they were in 2006. I shouldn't say when, because we hope it doesn't. If the Dresden station ends up closing, when you look at the EAV, all other EAV, we're going to be around 340 million again. So if we were able to run the district back in 06 with that amount, what's it look like if we try to do that now? So we've looked at how many staff members did we have in 06 compared to what we have now, what was our tax rate in 06, what were our programs in 06. And we feel like that was a good starting point for us to begin doing some more detailed work. So Quint, Sean, I'll turn it over to you guys because you guys were at the meeting too.
Well, as my esteemed colleague Sean brought up, 06 was a great number to springboard off of and start working from. Plus the information that you guys provided of the other school districts that were comparable to us, what type of programs they offer, what their budgets are. I think by giving the marching orders to come forward with some options based on those scenarios, I feel a lot more comfortable. Plus, we don't know what the after Dresden closes numbers are, whether you guys come up with a wind down agreement, what that property is going to be worth. We know that the wind out will be a couple of years just for the property itself, but what the storage will be as far as the rods go. There's a lot of what ifs that you guys cannot answer, and we don't expect that. But I think that the 06 numbers, where we were sitting at that point in time, is a great place to launch this. That was a great idea.
Yeah, from my perspective first, Ken, just, on behalf of all of us, just please extend again our thanks to those that volunteered their time to serve on that group. And I think you said it very well. This is kind of piggybacking off of Quinn said, the work is just starting, and that's the thing. And Ken did a real nice job facilitating to try to find where do you start in this? Because from the role that we play as the board, you know, we approve a budget, and the spending plan within that budget is executed by superintendent, by Jason, department chairs, whatever. So, you know, it's not going to be our role and our job as well to sit there and list everything out and say, this is what stays and this is what goes. I mean, that's the role that the administration is going to play. And Kent did a very nice job being very open and transparent with that group and telling them two things. One, it's going to result in people. I mean, there's no doubt about it. There's going to have to be personnel cuts. But two, it was going to be an inclusive process with everybody in the district, community members as well. You know, what stays, what goes, what do we look, really, it's a matter of what do we look like if Dresden closes, and we hope it doesn't either. But yeah, when you look at the numbers and our property value numbers, and if Dresden were to close, the numbers just align from an EAV perspective of what 2006 was. So it becomes a good starting point for then, you know, for the district to start having some discussions, and it's going to be all hands on deck, very similar to, you know, Ken, your first comment about, you know, labor getting involved and other stakeholders getting involved, et cetera. But the internal piece still has to happen. I will say that there's probably still some people that don't think this is a reality. I mean, let's just be open and think that maybe we can just cross our fingers and hope that doesn't happen. Because I know there was quite a few questions on how much time do we have, when, that kind of stuff. And I mean, the work's got to start now. I mean, if there's any changes that were going to happen come next school year from a personnel perspective, that's notifications at the March board meeting. That's 3 months away. So I know there's a lot of work to be done. I know there's a lot of things that we're gonna, you know, you're gonna bring us and look at, using that kind of guidance from the committee as a starting point to look and see what that would look like and what that means to us. But, you know, hopefully, knock on wood, that we're not going to have to worry about executing the plan. We'd be foolish to not have a plan on the shelf. And hopefully we do a lot of work and we have a plan. But at the end of the day, we don't have to execute any of it. That's what we all hope. So, but time's going to tell. But that time's going to be very, very quick. So.
And I want to clarify too, because we had discussion about this. We kept landing on this 06 figure for a lot of reasons, like I said. But when we say starting at 06, that doesn't mean that we automatically cut everything that's happened since 06. What we're talking about is some budget targets, some personnel targets, and we're going to look at everything, because there may be some things we had in place before 06 that we categorize as less important than things that we've added since 06. So I don't want to give the impression that we're drawing a line in the sand at 06 and anything that we've added since then is gone. What we're talking about is more a general budget target, a people target, personnel target, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because I know Mr. McCool, I think, maybe it was Mr. Cripple, a couple others had asked that question. And that's where I go back to, you know, the role that we play as the board. It's not called a line in the sand, but that's what we do. I mean, it's our job to approve the budget that you all present. So that's that piece, whatever that amount is. And we don't have to kick around numbers, but whatever that budget amount is, that's kind of what the toolbox you all have to work with. And now you have to find out some things, like you said, that have been added or enhanced since 2006 may stay and be a higher priority. And maybe something that was added in 1995, maybe something that goes, you know what I mean? Because, you know, you see those slides, from that second meeting, there were a lot of things and a lot of ideas that the entire committee, you know, brought forward that you guys are now going to have to take a look at. So, but again, very collaborative, many thanks to that group. It's just the start, though. That's the thing, and a lot of work that needs to be done. So.
Right. And so once again, I appreciate Quentin, Sean being there, appreciate the team members being there. We do have a lot of work to do. The other thing that I think that we need to start thinking about, which in tier 3 mitigations with COVID is going to be very difficult, is how do we start to gather community feedback? Because the other piece of this is, and I've been very honest about it, there will be a tax increase. If the board doesn't decide to raise taxes, there'll be a tax increase simply as a function of our bond and interest rate and when the EAV goes down. So we have to start gathering some feedback from the community at some point on what their comfort level is. You know, if the tax rate is here, this is what we're gonna have to cut. If the tax rate goes lower, we're gonna have to cut this much. What are you comfortable with as a community? Because you guys represent the community, but we gotta figure out how we're gonna gather their feedback on those. It's like when we passed the referendum. We went out and said, hey, this is what it's gonna cost, this is what we wanna do, do you support it or not?
Yeah, and Ken, you laid that out, and kind of going back to the referendum work, I don't know if we called it a choice isn't a right phrase to use here, but you talked about kind of a multiple tiered plan. So I think back to the referendum. There it was all based on enrollment data. When enrollment data got to a certain point, things in the plan were executed. So here, from a community perspective, once you find out that, you know, if the community is comfortable with a tax rate of X, this is what that means from a program personnel perspective. What about if it's Y and what if it's Z? And to give those, you know, thoughts, options, you know, whatever, so.
And just, you know, for tax rates, and I know we've talked about this a lot, just to put some things in perspective, and I appreciate Mr. Cripple put together a really nice comparison for us of other school districts. You know, for example, you know, we have a neighboring school district to ours that's in our conference that is very, very similar to us. Our tax rate is $3.26. Their tax rate is $6.28. You know, there's a big difference. You know, we have other neighbors that are at $5.64, $5.08. So, you know, we have to, somebody can't just say, well, hold on, that school runs their district with a lot less EAV than you. Well, their tax rate's double what ours is. They collect double the money. So those are the conversations we have to have. I'm not saying to raise the tax rate to $6.28. What I'm saying is we have to be honest with the public and say, hey, if we have the tax rate here and collect this many dollars, these are the programs that we're going to have to eliminate, you know, and have some different levels so that we can explain that to them. You know, like I've said, I had somebody tell me, a mentor tell me this years ago that, you know, a school district has to provide the level of education that the taxpayers are willing to support. And we got to figure out what that is. And it's going to be difficult in a tier 3 mitigation COVID world to figure out how we're going to get that feedback, you know. So other questions? So we'll continue moving forward. Jason and I are going to start getting some models put together that hopefully we can share with everybody, you know, when we come back in January to meet and have some further discussion. So appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Well, as far as the next item is concerned, I didn't receive anything. Does anybody want to change anything on that survey?
That's right.
I didn't receive
No,
anything from
yeah,
anybody.
sorry, that's right, no.
All right, then what I will do then is after this meeting, I will call Alan and tell him to, or I'll email him, tell him to start, we'll go ahead.
Right.
And we'll start working on that
Yeah,
right
we'll
away,
fit
as
in,
long as
yeah,
there are
just
no
the-
changes.
Yeah, the distribution mechanism and that kind of stuff,
Yep.
so, yep.
I'll start right out with that and we're ready to move forward then with the survey. Okay, with that said, then we still have to pay them half of the amount. So I would entertain a first and second motion to approve paying the first half of the IASB superintendent search contract, the amount of $3,950. Bob so moves and Clint seconds. Any discussion on that? Roll call, please, Luanda.
Robert Bianchetta.
Yes.
Whit Harman.
Yes.
Mary Gill.
Yes.
Sean Hamilton.
Yes.
Chuck Lander.
Yes.
Ken Miller.
Yes. Okay, Dr. Bug, you want to talk about the return to school plan?
So we're still in the process of meeting and doing some evaluation. As you know, it's an ever-moving target. Things continue to change, and when you think you're ready to maybe implement something, you go to tier 3 mitigations and things change again. So we're still in the process of those discussions. We are beginning to discuss things like, you know, what does if we ever had to go to full remote learning, making sure that we have that plan put together, that we can communicate, and what's that look like. Another thing that's very recently come up especially during this holiday season, is the issue of, we've allowed a lot of flexibility to our families to either choose in-person or full remote and move back and forth between those. We're starting to have some issues with people moving their kids to full remote for 2 days so they can go for a long weekend or something and then come back again. And that's getting a little bit difficult for us to manage. So we're going to begin having some discussions about requiring a minimum that if you go to full remote, you have to stay full remote for a minimum period of time. I don't know what that's going to look like. Is it 2 weeks? Is it 3 weeks? We're not going to do like some places have, where if you choose, you're there the whole semester. We don't think that's right, because we want to give our kids every opportunity to come back to us. So we're going to begin having more discussions on that, and seeing if we can tighten that up, because that's getting a little bit difficult for the administrators to track and the teachers to deal with in the classrooms. So we're going to try to address that. I will say that overall, our parents have just been fantastic. When we have to call and a kid's been in close contact and they have to be out for 14 days, our parents have been very understanding. They've been great. So I don't have any complaints there. So we're going to continue going through the plan, making tweaks where we need to. I also wanted to mention that if you haven't seen it yet, the CDC has released new guidance on quarantine that used to be that if you were in close contact with someone COVID positive or symptomatic, you were quarantined for 14 days. They've changed that quarantine down to 7 to 10 days now. IDPH has not adopted that yet. I assume that they will soon. If IDPH adopts it, then we will most likely be adopting that as well. But that just got published today. So that's all I have on that, Mr. Miller.
Okay. Any questions about that? I think you guys have done a great job. Again, the amount of work you guys are putting in is just amazing. And I just want to say thank you to everybody in the district for all the work they're doing, and that's going very well, because I know a lot of districts it's not. Okay, so let's move on now. I'll entertain a first and second motion to approve the amended 2020-2021 school calendar, eliminating the early dismissal days for professional development on December 9th, March 10th, April 14th, and May 5th. Chuck so moves, Mary seconds. Anything you want to mention?
Yeah, just a reminder, we talked about this before, but we had some early dismissal days put in. And then with the way the calendar works and our schedule and the kids on remote learning, it just didn't work. So you know what, when it doesn't work, you regroup. And so we decided to remove those from the calendar, but to do that, we need you to formally adjust the calendar.
Okay. Okay, roll call please, Wanda.
Chuck Lander.
Yes.
Mary Gill.
Yes.
Robert Bianca.
Yes.
Sean Hamilton.
Yes.
Chuck Harmon.
Yes.
Ken Miller.
Yes. Entertain a first and second motion to adopt the 2020 property tax levy for the Coal City Community Unit School District Number 1 and approve the certification of the filing of the Grundy County and the Will County Clerk as follows. And there you see the amount there, the total levy of $24,970,818. Chuck so moves and Quince seconds. Anything you want to?
Jay, you want to talk a little bit about where we're at with EAB figures and your conversations with the county? And
So as I last reported, we have estimated values from the county assessor. We asked for further clarification with respect to where the TIF increment value was going to be so that we could better approximate what the rate setting EAB would be. To date, I have not had any response back from the assessor's office. And obviously they said that that was going to be a challenge anyway with the election certifications that they had happening here in the last 4 weeks. So this levy represents the same value as the tentative levy did. I'll just remind you that when the time comes for that rate to be set, however, because of the way our process functions, we will date back to what the trigger amount is for per the agreement that we have in place. And at that time, we'll be able to adjust it to make sure that we include the increased tax rate for the all other EAB piece of this. And so we'll still land at we'll still be able to achieve that goal at rate setting time. So that's all I have to report. We're certainly happy to entertain any questions the board may have.
Anybody have any questions? I think it's all pretty simple, self-explanatory. It's right there in black and white for us. Okay, then let's do a roll call, please, Luanda.
Chuck Lander,
Yes.
Quentin Harmon,
Yes.
Robert Biancotta,
Yes.
Mary Gill,
Yes.
Sean Hamilton.
Yes.
Ken Miller.
Yes. Okay, let's move on to new business then. You want me to go or you want to go?
It's,
Well, you've all got a sheet in front of you about filling the vacancy. As you can see, we've been told by Chris Mahatchko that we have 60 days to fill the date. And we have to have it done by the January 6th board meeting. So it depends upon what kind of a process you want to use, who you want to interview, and how you want to do it. So I'm going to throw it open to you for a discussion as to how you want to do it. I like the idea of maybe interviewing the people who pull petitions.
so
Yeah,
let me just mention one thing first.
Go ahead.
January 6th is actually past the 60-day point, but I had a conversation with Chris Mahatchko, who said that because of the pandemic, the Thanksgiving holiday, the winter break, that he had no issue with the board approving it on January the 6th. So technically, if you wait past 60 days, the regional superintendent appoints someone, and he
Right.
said, given the way the calendar works, he had no issue with January 6th. So I just want to be clear on that in case anybody was wondering, well, hold on, that's after 60 days. You miss it by a couple days, but he said he supported that.
I like the January 6th one because it gives people who pull, between then and December 21st, it gives us a chance to look at them to see. Not that anybody would, but that's just some more candidates to look at. Okay, your thoughts. Let's hear them.
I was just, Ken, I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna just echo and agree with you, and I'm even gonna go back to what Board Member Emerson said in his comments on the, on the way out the door about, I think he's the one that mentioned it, to try to give somebody who has an intention of running in the upcoming election.
Right.
So I think the process of, inviting those that have pulled petitions to, one, see if they're actually gonna turn them in, and then two, if they want to come in and interview for that, I think that's, in regards to getting a pool, I think that's a wise move.
I do too. Would anybody have a problem if we held the interviews on the 16th?
I think Mary would just to answer Mary's question,
sorry,
she was
Mary.
asking, have we had any interest? If you choose people who have pulled petitions, according to the Grundy County website that I checked, I didn't check today, but I checked yesterday, there are 3 people who have pulled petitions so far. So
I'm sorry, Mary.
we would,
That's right, I was just.
if the board decides that you only want to interview candidates who have pulled petitions who might be running, though, we would choose those 3.
But just to clarify, there's 5 people that have pulled petitions, 3 that are not currently
3 that are
seated on the
not currently
board.
board members,
Correct,
exactly.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right, I just wanted
Good
to,
clarification.
just to be
There were
clear.
3,
Absolutely.
right, 3 people that would be eligible to be interviewed that have pulled petitions.
Right.
So is everybody okay with the December 16th thing then?
I am, yes.
Everybody okay on the calendar? I say I am. I don't think I've got anything on my calendar. My calendar's pretty empty right now. So as far as I know, I will. But it's a Wednesday night, and normally, we're free on Wednesday nights. All right, then the other thing I guess that I would like to do would be to have you start thinking about the questions maybe that you would like to ask. And I think it would, and this is just me, if maybe one person asked the questions to everybody, rather than you guys, if you submit the questions to me, I'd be glad to answer them. That or ask them, that way they're getting the same delivery from everybody. And they can't say, well, wait a minute, you did this, you didn't do that.
Yeah, that sounds good. And you know what, Ken? That's
So are you volunteering?
I would do it. I think we did that with you when you came in to interview
It was so long ago.
that time. I know it was a long time ago, but
You had dark hair?
I think we did the same thing.
Ken, what I was gonna say is, depending upon, I know the IASB gives some guidance
Yes.
in this process, not only about the process, but about, why somebody wants to run and the questions to be asked. So we'll take a look at that. The only other suggestion I was gonna make is, 30 minutes isn't a lot of time.
No.
So depending upon, Ken, what everybody submits, maybe there's an idea of, here's some questions that we can give them and they could write an answer to and we can get back. And then there's maybe a set of questions that we should, that we can ask verbally. And I'm with you. It should be it's like interviewing somebody, a candidate, I mean, not an elected official, but even an employee. You ask the same questions unless an answer they give kind of leads you on a tangent.
Exactly.
So,
And I will ask Alan when I'm going to call him, I think, and ask him if they have any recommended questions or anything that we should be asking, at that point too. So, yeah, maybe we can get some help from them.
If the board has questions you want to ask, if you email those to LaWanda, she can start putting a document together collecting those questions. So if you have questions that you want to ask a potential board member, send those to LaWanda and she'll begin putting a document together. That once we get all that, I can get it sent out to everybody prior to the meeting.
and then just one more piece of clarity. So like you said, Kent, right now, there's 5 people that have pulled. Shouldn't we say, because people could pull petitions up to the 21st. So
Right.
we need to probably say, we're gonna invite individuals that have pulled petitions up to whatever it is, up to the Friday before, because what could happen is, and again, this is just the politics of the way it is. Somebody could say, well, I didn't get an opportunity because I pulled a petition the morning of the 16th and you didn't give me an opportunity to come in and interview. So I think as we're talking about the process that we're going to use, we also should say, we typically put the agenda out on Monday. So that would be Monday the 14th. Maybe we say, it's got to be the clerk's office. They're open, Friday till whatever it is, 4:30. That should be the date. Anybody that's pulled by this date
That would be December 11th.
would be we would invite, I'm not deciding, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
we could,
But I think that's probably a good
think
idea
it is
because
too,
then
yeah.
we could put that out on the website as
Yeah.
well. That, the board's going to be conducting interviews for vacant board seat. They're going to interview anyone who has pulled a petition for the April election. If that petition is pulled by December 11th.
and again, somebody could, that has pulled a petition could decline
Right.
to be interviewed, but
Right.
still turn the petition in,
Sure.
of course, you have no control over that, but
No,
at least,
absolutely.
to say, hey, I guess that's the ones we'd be extending formal invitations to.
Right. Right.
So,
Okay, anybody have any problems with that? I think that's probably the best way to go as far as I'm concerned, and then you will post that.
So what we'll do is if you have questions, get those to LaWanda. She'll begin putting that document together. I'll get something ready to get posted on the website to announce it. I'll also contact the local press so that they know it as well, put a little press release together. And then we'll post the December 16th special board meeting.
and then Kent, as board secretary, we'll ask LaWanda will be the one that would extend those invitations.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
She would contact
she would
them and
contact
schedule
them.
their interview times.
And said, you pulled a petition, are you interested? Yes or
Right.
no? And, okay, got it.
Yeah, that's the last bullet point down there on the, after December 2nd meeting, she'll contact you.
Yep. Okay.
We'll get them set.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't see that, Ken, sorry.
No, it's okay. That's okay. Any other questions or concerns about that process?
No.
Okay. Then let's move on to mid-year graduates. And I will entertain a first and second motion, bear with me here, to approve the following mid-year graduates, student numbers 202-11154, 2021033, 2021963, 2021837, 2021069, 2021217, 2021068, and the following mid-year exclusions, student numbers 2021-215 and 2021-996. Quint so moves and Chuck seconds. Anything you want to say about all that?
No.
It's pretty self-explanatory. All right, let's roll call, please, Wanda.
Quint Harmon.
Yes.
Chuck Lander.
Yes.
Robert Bianchetta.
Yes.
Mary Gill.
Yes.
Sean Hamilton.
Yes.
Jim Miller.
Yes. Yeah, I'll entertain a first and second motion to approve the donation of $920 from Morris Hospital for the athletics program. Chuck so moves and Bob seconds.
Yeah, just want to thank Morris Hospital. They come and do our physicals, and then whatever money is paid, they donate that back to our athletic program that goes into our general fund.
Absolutely.
So we appreciate that.
Yep,
We'll get a
absolutely.
thank you sent to them.
Thank you to the Morris Hospital for that. Okay, roll call, please, Luana.
Chuck Lander.
Yes.
Robert Bianca.
Yes.
Mary Gill.
Yes.
Sean Hamilton.
Yes.
Whit Harman.
Yes.
Ken Miller.
Yes. Okay, note that the first reading of the revised district policies is happening.
I'll get with Bob and Chuck for policy committee meeting and we'll get ready to roll on that.
Thank you again for you two for serving in that committee.
Yes.
Okay,
That's not real.
I knew you'd really like that. There'll be a little more in the paycheck next week.
I do. Proud to serve.
A little more in the paycheck next week. Okay, I'll entertain a first and second motion to approve the payment of the annual membership fee of $265 to the Grundy County Chamber of Commerce. Mary so moves.
Second.
Sean seconds. Any discussion on that? I think it's money well spent. Roll call, please, Luana.
Mary Gill.
Yes.
Sean Hamilton.
Yes.
Robert Bianca.
Yes.
Whit Harman.
Yes.
Chuck Lander.
Yes.
Ken Miller.
Yes. Are there any open items not on agenda or any communication from the floor in regard to agenda items at this time?
Just one thing, we do not have a need to go into closed session. I was telling Mr. Miller for a variety of reasons, there's not an update on the real property issue. So hopefully we'll have that update in January.
Scratch that.
Unless you want to go into closed session.
No, sir.
All right, two dates. December 30th, study session, which we may not have, we'll see. And then, of course, the next meeting will be January 16th, or 6th, I mean, but don't forget the December 16th meeting. All right, with that said, then, it's 6:36, I'll entertain for the second motion to adjourn. Mary so moves and Chuck seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And we are adjourned. Thank you for your time, folks.
Thanks, everyone.